Most Disney animated features are based, at least in part, in either centuries-old folklore or books and plays from at least 100 years ago. With this in mind, it's understandable how their princes and princesses remained so one-note for so long. This is especially true of the antiquated gender roles that these movies often showcased until the past 25 years or so. The classic Disney male protagonist is typified by an unnamed prince or Prince Charming. He's actually a stock character with a name that dates back to the 17th century translations of Sleeping Beauty and other stories with shallow, non-specific princes. We see men like this in Cinderella and all kinds of Disney movies. In Cinderella, he has everything, everyone loves him and everyone wants to marry him. Everything in the kingdom, especially when he starts looking for the owner of the glass slipper, revolves around him. He's the most popular guy in town. But that's also true of Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. He has everything, everyone loves him, everyone wants to marry him, he's especially good at expectorating, all that. The difference between the 1950 version of the most popular man alive and the 1991 incarnation is a change in attitudes over time about what makes a man. Gaston is a more realistic representation of a man who has absolutely everything and is constantly showered with praise. He developed an ego about it, and is a little full of himself. Much like the majority of our most famous celebrities, princes of Disney yesteryear were not quite like this. Their main focus was being handsome and kissing sleeping girls in an uncomfortable, not entirely consensual way. Progression of roles for women may be even more complex. Again, female protagonists sometimes find themselves sleeping through the action or being otherwise passive in some ways, even though these were their stories, and they were the titular characters. During the Disney Renaissance, this began to change. The Little Mermaid is not the greatest feminist tale, but some of the disagreeable grumbles about this film don't fully add up. Ariel did not trade her anatomy and beloved home for a man she barely knew. Her devoted fandom of the surface long pre-existed her crush on the bland Prince Eric. She already wanted to be part of that world. That was what her song was all about. The 90s found better role models for young girls. Beauty and the Beast starred Belle, a young woman who loved to read, a trait that was unusual for a woman during this time period. She valued knowledge and history, and she had no interest in the big jerk that everyone else liked. The complaint that her infatuation with Beast amounts only to Stockholm Syndrome has some holes. She did not care for the Beast's attitude or the Beast in general until he made an effort to change. Then there's Mulan, the female protagonist that Walt Disney Animation Studios got completely right and absolutely hit out of the park. Smart, resourceful, unconstrained by gender boundaries, courageous, selfless, and with a warm heart. Mulan may be the truest and most complete role model that Disney ever made. Even the point of the movie itself emboldens young girls. It's about the incompatibility of hard-lined, old-fashioned gender roles with a growing society. Women can be soldiers, men can be sensitive. Though there still seems to be a few hiccups with Disney, their female protagonists, with the exception of Mulan, are not what one would call action heroes. That's something that is needed more. Now, not every main female protagonist in a Disney film needs to be a Mulan. That would be redundant. However, the frequent exclusion could leave young women wanting. This does not take into account the influence of art in general, and film specifically. Our stories, whether we notice this consciously or not, shape part of who we are. Our heroes can affect our values. Movies for adults are one thing, but Disney animated films are meant to be child-friendly, and as such, Disney has a responsibility to create positive role models for our modern world. They can grow up to appreciate intelligence or bravery. For young people, especially young girls, Disney has incredible power and reach, and with that comes the duty and obligation to do right by them.